I'll use the universal greeting.
Universal greeting?
Ba weep grana weep ninibong.
Ba weep grana weep ninibong?
Ba weep grana weep ninibong. See, the universal greeting works every time.
What is up, you guys? In today's video, I'm kidding. Hey everyone, my presentation will be covering pages 230 to the beginning of 232 in chapter 13 of A New History of Animation by Maureen Furness. I can already tell you right now, this is going to be the most fun section in the entire book to talk about. So to start off with, we have to go back to the 80s. Now, before we can start talking about all the great cartoons of the 1980s, we first have to talk about one man in particular.
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan? The actor?
Ronald Reagan was a Republican president who actually began his career as an actor, and ironically was also the president of the Screen Actors Guild for a brief period of time as well. He was president for 2 full terms of America, that is, and was in office from 1981 to 1989, basically encompassing the entire period of the 1980s. Now, while television and advertising regulation was more strict during the 1970s, primarily due to the advocacy group Action for Children's Television, or ACT, more on that in the blue box on page 227, when Reagan became president in 1981, his administration implemented a lot of deregulation of television and animation and advertising, particularly towards children. This led to the creation of, I love this term, the half-hour commercial, a television series basically designed to sell toys, either by generating hype for stories and characters that could then be turned into toys, or by telling stories about characters with pre-existing toys in order to advertise them with merchandising in mind. The term toyetic came about to describe these types of shows, referring to a series with a lot of marketability and toy merchandising potential. Unsurprisingly, pretty much a majority of the animated television shows of the 80s were designed to sell toys or merchandise of some kind, and while some of them have fallen into obscurity since then, others have remained in the pop culture spotlight and even gained popularity to this day. And rightfully so, the chapter decides to first introduce 2 of Hasbro's biggest franchises, which hopefully everyone has at least heard of, those being Transformers and G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe.
Hasbro also owns the rights to Power Rangers, Monopoly, Furby, Nerf, the Ouija board, Play-Doh, Twister, Care Bears, Beyblade, My Little Pony, and Wizards of the Coast, aka the company that owns D&D and also for a time owned Pokemon cards. So, before we can start talking about Transformers, yeah, I know, right? We first have to talk about G.I. Joe. No, not that G.I. Joe. This G.I. Joe. So, the term G.I. Joe was used as the title of a comic series from the 1940s, and in World War II, G.I. Joe referred to a government-issue Joe, an average military guy, basically like the term John Doe. In 1964, Hasbro began its original G.I. Joe toy line with a series of 12-inch figures, and while these could be accepted as the first action figures, they were more like the equivalent of Barbie dolls for boys. They had interchangeable clothing, realistic hair, vehicles, weapons, accessories. All they were missing was a dream house. And there was also this other company called Mego that made similar doll figures for licensed intellectual properties, including Marvel and DC, Planet of the Apes, and Star Trek. Honestly, I'd rather be talking about them right now.
Dr. Cooper. Dr. Cooper.
Is someone there?
Down here on your desk.
Spock?
I need to speak with you.
Fascinating. The only logical explanation is that this is a dream.
It is not the only logical explanation. For example, you could be hallucinating after being hit on the head by, say, a coconut.
Was I hit on the head by a coconut?
I'm not going to dignify that with a response. Now, to the matter at hand, you need to play with the transporter toy.
But it's mint in box.
Yes, and to open it would destroy its value. But remember, like me, you also have a human half.
Well, I'm not going to dignify that with a response.
Consider this. What is the purpose of a toy?
To be played with.
Therefore, to not play with it would be...
Illogical. Oh, damn it, Spock, you're right.
Basically, think of G.I. Joe as the Barbie doll for boys. We all know Barbie, which is owned by Mattel, pretty much Hasbro's biggest competition, who we'll get to later on, and Hasbro wanted to get in on the action. But it wasn't enough. Following the release of this weird little indie sci-fi film from the 1970s, which it says here was called Star Wars? The toy company Kenner created the first line of Star Wars action figures, and due to the increasing price of plastic, these figures had very few moving parts and were only 3 3/4 inches tall. This made it much easier for them to make vehicles and play sets for their toys at a cheaper price point and at a much more manageable size. This 3 3/4 inch scale skyrocketed as the new popular action figure scale, and Hasbro still makes Star Wars action figures in that size today, although I personally prefer the 6-inch scale myself. In 1982, Hasbro decided to reinvent the G.I. Joe toy line in this 3 3/4 inch scale, and the characters were introduced in their own Marvel Comics series. Marvel Comics, keep that in mind, we're going to be talking about them a lot. Wow. The story of this new G.I. Joe franchise revolves around the ongoing conflict between the G.I. Joe team of unique military specialist characters and the terrorist organization Cobra, whose forces seek to conquer the world, and I guess are sometimes a front for a race of snake people who live underground who want to take over the Earth. Something worth paying attention to in most of these cartoons, there's a lot of parallels between the shows and the Cold War, where the good guys represent America and the bad guys represent communism or Russia or whoever. So these shows are not only giant advertisements, they're also kind of propaganda designed to indoctrinate children during the Cold War era. But then you could pretty much say that about anything if you read too much into it. Let's take a look at the intro from G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero.
Yo, Joe!
He'll fight for freedom wherever there's trouble. G.I. Joe is there. G.I. Joe, American hero. G.I. Joe is there. It's G.I. Joe against Cobra, the enemy, fighting to save the day. He never gives up. He's always there, fighting for freedom over land and air. G.I. Joe, hero. G.I. Joe is there.
G.I. Joe is the code name for America's daring, highly trained Special Mission Force. Its purpose, to defend human freedom against Cobra, a ruthless terrorist organization determined to rule the world.
He never gives up. He'll stay till the fight's won. G.I. Joe will dare. G.I. Joe, American hero. G.I. Joe.
It just doesn't get more American than that, does it? The cartoon G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero was initially devised as a 5-part animated miniseries in 1983, receiving another 5 episodes in 1984. By
1985.
These miniseries were used as the pilots for a full episodic cartoon series. In total, the original G.I. Joe cartoon lasted from 1983 to 1986, which received a lot of merchandise. Let's take a look at some commercials for the G.I. Joe toy line.
He'll fight for freedom wherever there's trouble. G.I. Joe is there. G.I. Joe.
Real Joe sees Cobra's new weapon, Hiss. Destro's a genius. Hiss is unbeatable. Surprise attack! Call in the Wolverine. Go get him, cover girl.
G.I. Joe, American hero.
So long, Wolverine. Hurry, Clutch. Wolverine's in trouble. Destro, look. Hiss is ready.
G.I. Joe, Wolverine, and Cobra's Hiss, each with figure, other figures, and equipment sold separately from Hasbro.
He's getting mad. He's getting mean. He's breaking the line for the G.I. Joe team.
That's right, it's William the Refrigerator Perry.
The fridge destroying G.I. Joe.
And you can get a free fridge. Here's how.
Collect 5 fridge certificates or call the number on the certificate and the fridge will tell you how to get in on the action with only 4 certificates. There's a $1 handling charge. See details on specially marked G.I. Joe packages.
Watch out, Cobra. Fridge is coming through.
Yo, Joe.
I got it. Wow.
Introducing the G.I. Joe USS Flag Aircraft Carrier. Imagine being on the deck of this aircraft carrier.
The USS Flag is fantastic. It's so big. Over that middle bus station. Get
G.I. Joe USS Flag aircraft carrier comes with what you see here. Other figures and equipment sold separately from Hasbro.
Ryan, got your new cereal. How's it look, Duke?
All clear. Go for it. Hit it.
Introducing G.I. Joe Action Stars brand cereal, a delicious part of this complete breakfast. Crunchy stars that taste great. So, for all you action stars...
Bye, Mom!
G.I. Joe Action Stars.
At the end of every episode of G.I. Joe, one of the characters from the series would provide a public service announcement that explains a safety tip for kids. This way, the show could act as a shameless advertisement while also being educational and instructional for America's youth. Let's take a look at some of these G.I. Joe public service announcements.
Bobby, my stomach hurts. Oh, I'll give you some of Dad's medicine. It's real strong stuff.
That's a prescription for danger.
Doc!
Never take medicine without a grown-up present. You could do more harm than good.
What should we do?
If you can, wait for your parents. Or if it's serious, ask a neighbor for help.
Hey, Mom's home.
Now you'll get help.
And now we know what to do next time.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe.
You okay?
My nose is bleeding. Put your head back.
That's the wrong play.
Footloose.
Pinch your nose closed and lean forward. If it doesn't stop in 5 minutes, we'll pack your nose with gauze and pinch it closed for 10 more minutes. If it's still bleeding, then see a doctor.
The bleeding stopped. Now we know how to stop a nosebleed.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe.
We now return to the Transformers.
The Transformers originally began as toys created in Japan for the Diaclone and Microchange toy lines. Diaclone, from Diamond and Cyclone, was originally something of a riff on Starship Troopers and featured characters who piloted giant robots that turned into vehicles and stuff, and battled alien bugs called the Waruders. Eventually they kinda gave up on the whole pilot idea and mostly focused on making the vehicle robots. Diaclone featured vehicles that turned into robot mechs, which originated most of the Autobot characters, including Jazz, Ironhide, Sunstreaker, and Optimus Prime, as well as the vehicular Decepticons like Starscream and the Seekers who turn into jets. Microchange, a toy subline from the Japanese 3 3/4 inch Microman toy line, which was also adapted by Mego for American consumers as the Micronauts toy line, which had its own run of Marvel Comics, hint hint, Quantum Realm, and is now owned by Hasbro, I guess, mostly consisted of toys of household objects, devices, and even guns that transformed into robots, which is where characters like Soundwave, Blaster, the cassette Minicons, and Megatron originated. Interestingly, this is actually the toy line where the Minibots, including Gears, Brawn, Cliffjumper, and the iconic Bumblebee, originated. Not from Diaclone, the toy line where most of the vehicular characters came from. Also, even though the character Shockwave transforms into a gun as well, he didn't originate from the Microchange toy line. His toy actually came from a Japanese toy company called Toyco, and was also licensed to be sold by Radio Shack as the Galactic Man figure, which has also been referred to as Shackwave. Both of these toy lines were owned by Takara, now Takara Tomy, which has always had a significant influence over the Transformers franchise and still does to this day. And by the way, don't even get me started on Tonka's GoBots.
A GoBot?
Yeah.
Like the children's toy? No.
So, what about the Transformers?
Folks, these robots are hot.
These toy lines were adapted for American audiences and distributed by Hasbro, combined under the brand name Transformers, or The Transformers if you want to get technical. Each toy was given a character profile, and like G.I. Joe, they received a comic series from Marvel to introduce the characters and the story of the toy line. In 1984, the Transformers were given their own animated series, which had 2 seasons, followed by a full-length animated movie in 1986, followed by 2 more seasons, ending in 1987. Plus there was this Japanese exclusive continuation of the original cartoon called Transformers the Headmasters, but personally I think I like what America does with Transformers better.
I am directly below. The enemy scrotum.
The story of the Transformers is a lot like the story of G.I. Joe, where there are 2 factions, one heroic and one tyrannical, who fight each other in episodic storylines. In this franchise, the heroic Autobots and villainous Decepticons from the planet Cybertron, aliens who can transform into vehicles and machines, arrive on Earth and drag humanity into the crossfire of their war. Most of the Autobots consist of characters from the Diaclone toy line, except for the Minibots from Microchange, while the Decepticons are mostly from Microchange except for the Jet Alt Mode Seekers. Let's take a look at the intro for The Transformers.
The Transformers, more than meets the eye. Autobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons. The Transformers, robots in disguise. The Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers.
Now, unlike G.I. Joe, the Transformers never actually featured any PSAs or lessons in any of their episodes. Let's watch some commercials for the original Transformers toys.
The Transformers, more than meets the eye. Autobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons. The Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers, robots in disguise.
Attack the Autobot commander! Call in a Decepticon leader!
Transformers, more than meets the
Transformers, sold separately from Hasbro.
The Transformers, more than meets the eye. Autobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons. The Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers, robots in disguise.
We're under attack! It's the Decepticons! Get more Autobots!
The Transformers, more than meets the eye.
Transformers from Hasbro.
The Transformers, more than meets the eye. Autobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons. The Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers, robots in disguise.
It's the Decepticon communicators! Get more Autobots!
The Transformers, more than meets the eye.
Transformers from Hasbro.
A lot of these older toys have seen reissues recently from Hasbro, except for characters like Megatron who turn into guns which aren't allowed to be sold as toys in this same style anymore. Here are some clips from some of my favorite scenes in the original Transformers cartoon.
This is the moment I've been waiting for. Now, Starscream! Excellent! My invisibility spray will provide the perfect cover for this operation.
Optimus Prime, I know you're not evil. I believe in you. You've got to fight it. Don't give in.
Help me, Bumblebee! Quickly! You did it, little friend. You saved me.
In the fields!
Monsters? What are they talking about?
Damage, eject, operation, retrieval.
Oh no, Decepticons. I've memorized the formula, so once I rip this up, there's no way the Decepticons can learn to make the antimatter. You're too late, Ravage. The information's already been destroyed.
Excellent, Ravage. Zero inhibitor cells. My equilibrium destabilized.
Megatron has fallen! I, Starscream, am now your leader. Decepticons, follow me!
I think Transformers actually has the longest lasting legacy out of any of these shows from this section of the chapter. So by this point, there was actually a lot of outsourcing of production going on at a lot of animation studios, which ended up displacing American animators, and a majority of animation was handled overseas. One of the most prominent exceptions to this was the company Filmation. Now, the chapter didn't really go into detail about the people that brought you G.I. Joe or Transformers, so neither did I, but it does mention some of the people behind Filmation. Filmation Associates was founded in 1963 by producers Norm Prescott and Lou Scheimer, and director Hal Sutherland. Filmation lasted until 1989, which seems crazy for how much they accomplished, and they were apparently Hanna-Barbera's biggest rival for a time. Some of their cartoons included The New Adventures of Superman, Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, which, at the time, I guess it was a pretty big deal to have Bill Cosby's involvement in a cartoon, as well as, and the book didn't mention this at all, Star Trek the Animated Series, which was actually integral to keeping Star Trek alive between the original series and the upcoming TOS movies and the Next Generation series. It also set the stage for present-day Star Trek cartoons like Lower Decks and Prodigy, which are incredibly underrated and deserve way more credit and attention than they get. In fact, here, check this out.
Hello, I'm Devonna Tindy from Star Trek Lower Decks. Today we honor the 50-year anniversary of the Star Trek animated series. It came out in 1973, ran for 2 seasons, and featured the actors from the original series. It paved the way for future Star Trek cartoons like Lower Decks, and we celebrate you today. You walked so that we may run.
Thank you, Devonna. Wait. What the hell does that mean? We walk and you run.
It's a compliment. I just meant that you set the stage for modern Star Trek cartoons.
Oh, we set the stage. Like we're stagehands and you're the actors? It sounds like an insult. I have 3 legs. I'm great at running.
What are you trying to say? Well, it's just that they had less budget and technology then, so your animation was a little, stiff?
Stiff?
It was a stylistic choice.
Maybe you guys move around too much.
Can you tell I'm a fan of Star Trek yet? Of course, they also made the Masters of the Universe cartoons, He-Man and She-Ra, with Mattel. The toy company Mattel is actually the second most successful toy company in the world after Lego. Sorry, Hasbro, should have kept those windowed boxes, am I right? And while they're probably best known for Barbie and Hot Wheels, and I guess Barbie alone is probably enough to make them richer than Hasbro, they also created the Masters of the Universe toy line, which actually received a live-action movie before Barbie, if you want to count that. If we're lucky, with the success of the Barbie movie, they'll finally make a good He-Man live-action movie at some point in the future. The Masters of the Universe toy line originated as an attempt to create a franchise involving elements of space and sci-fi within the fantasy genre. A world with lasers and spaceships, as well as loincloth barbarians and wizards. Something of a mix of Conan, Star Wars, King Arthur, and John Carter of Mars. Basically the coolest sounding setting for a D&D campaign ever. The original toys included mini-comics that provided details and narrative storylines surrounding the characters. But as we've already seen from other toy lines, this was only leading up to the creation of a full animated series. The backstory of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe is pretty effectively narrated in the cartoon's intro. Let's find out what it's all about. Wait, sorry, wrong clip. I have no idea how that got in here. I meant to show you this one.
And the Masters of the Universe.
I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend. Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said,
By the power of Grayskull.
Cringer became the mighty Battle Cat, and I became He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Only 3 others share this secret. Our friends, the Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, and Orko. Together, we defend Castle Grayskull from the evil forces of Skeletor.
I don't know about you, but after watching that, I definitely want to buy some of these toys. Let's take a look at some of the original commercials for He-Man and the Masters of the Universe action figures.
He-Man, He-Man.
the big guy with the muscles?
He's He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Skeletor is his enemy.
Here's He-Man, Skeletor, and Castle Grayskull. You have to put the castle together.
You're doomed, He-Man.
Oh, yeah? Watch this action, Dad. Now I have the power.
He-Man and Skeletor each sold separately. Castle Grayskull also sold separately from the Masters of the Universe collection from Mattel.
What do we have here?
It's Castle Grayskull. And it's mine. Not so fast, Beastman. He-Man!
You can pit He-Man against Beastman, playing for the power of Castle Grayskull. You have to put the castle together.
Beastman's escaping.
The throne, Dad. Dad, you saved the castle.
Castle Grayskull from the Masters of the Universe collection. He-Man and Beastman each sold separately from Mattel.
A sister series to He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, pun intended, She-Ra, Princess of Power, was created as Mattel's answer to the surprising amount of viewership He-Man received from young girls. And it was decided to capitalize on this audience by introducing a new character into the lore of Eternia, and a new toy line that combined elements of Mattel's wildly successful Barbie dolls and MOTU's He-Man toys. Check out the intro from She-Ra, Princess of Power, and try to compare her own narration to the one given by Prince Adam in the He-Man intro.
Adora, He-Man's twin sister and defender of the Crystal Castle. This is Spirit, my beloved steed. Fabulous secrets were revealed to me the day I held aloft my sword and said, "For the honor of Grayskull!" Only a few others share this secret. Among them are Light Hope, Madame Raz, and Cowl. Together, we and my friends of the Great Rebellion strive to free Etheria from the evil forces of Horda.
Here are some She-Ra toy commercials, and pay attention to the differences between the way She-Ra and He-Man were advertised to kids.
Princess of Power, She-Ra. Oh, Swift Wind, you're crystal clear and more beautiful than ever.
Crystal Swiftwind, Starburst She-Ra, and Catra dolls each sold separately.
Now, your beautiful wings and magic horn. I want Crystal Swiftwind. My dazzling Starburst cape will stop you. Outshined again. I think Catra has seen the light.
Starburst She-Ra and Crystal Swiftwind each sold separately. New from the Princess of Power collection. Catra also sold separately.
You can pretend magic water gently calls. Refresh all powers at Crystal Falls.
You put it together. Starburst She-Ra and Mermista dolls each sold separately.
What a lovely place to be, feeling pampered beautifully. With seashells and showers like half-liquid powers. The fate of the world's in good hands at Crystal Falls, Princess of Power.
Crystal Falls and Mermista with Mermaid Tail each sold separately. Starburst She-Ra doll also sold separately. New from Mattel.
Just like He-Man, She-Ra also provided PSAs and lessons similar to the G.I. Joe cartoon. Here, let's have a look.
She-Ra and I want to talk to you about something that's very personal. Your body.
Remember, it's your body and no one should touch you in a way that you feel is wrong.
I'll get anybody who tries it.
It's not that easy, Orko. It's hard for a young person to admit that he or she has been touched in a bad way.
If you've been touched that way, don't be ashamed. Tell someone you trust, like your parents, your doctor, your teacher, or counselor, or your minister or rabbi.
Right, Orko?
Right on!
Well, there you have it, folks. And here's a shout out to some of the other comic and toy-based cartoons from the 80s that this section didn't mention. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Thundercats, Silverhawks, Gem and the Holograms, and Voltron. And here are all my sources. Most of these were YouTube videos that I used. I don't own any of these, so hopefully neither Hasbro nor Mattel or anyone else will try to sue me over these. And pretty much every episode from each of these shows are available on YouTube for free to watch in case you're interested in checking those out afterwards. And I'll be sure to link all of these videos in the description as well. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon to get notified of future uploads. Okay, thanks, bye!